Breakfast. Time now for opinions from public address man Russell Brown, the Hard News blog there, Media 7 Show, TVZ7 as well. Good morning to you, Russell.
Good morning.
And continuing a conversation in this hour about the fears in Australia about Huawei. They've been banned from helping out with the broadband network over there, but however here they are most welcome to be part of the process of putting together ultra-fast broadband, and they've already invested in other networks as well. Just talking with Russell Norman, he says that there needs to be an inquiry into this.
Yes, and he also said he wouldn't have a Huawei modem in his house.
Well, no, because I have one at home and have had one for a couple of years now, a Huawei modem, because they make consumer-grade stuff. But I asked Russell about this, and he said no, he wouldn't have one installed at his house.
Does he really think that they're making individual listening devices to put in people's homes?
I don't know, because I said, so what is the actual fear with the broadband network? Is the fear that they would install equipment that would monitor communications? And he said yes, that would be one of the fears.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly the fear. I've just never seen any evidence that that they do anything like that. I guess if it was to happen, it would be that in some of their equipment there would be code which offered a backdoor to the Chinese government. It's easy enough to say that, but there's just no bloody evidence.
Well, he's saying that the links are already there at the top of the company, right, between the government and the actual running of the company.
Yeah, although they're not a state-owned company. A former People's Revolutionary Army senior officer founded Huawei. It's actually an employee-owned company. 98.5% of the shares are owned by employees. In a lot of ways, it's quite an admirable company. And it's huge. It's a $32 billion company that does business everywhere. And I have to say, you're hearing people saying things like, well, they've been banned from doing business in the US. No, they haven't.
But surely it would be folly, though, to say that such a huge company like Huawei would have no, the Chinese government would have no interest in that company. Surely they would.
Yeah, and it's probably a reasonable bet that the Chinese government does talk to the management of Huawei. But, if they were, again, where's the evidence that any of this stuff has happened? And you do have to note that the UK and Singapore, among many other countries, have brought Huawei in to build their next generation fibre network. It does business in 140 countries, and apart from anything else, has a big presence here already. It built out 2 Degrees mobile network. It's provided quite a bit of tech to Vodafone here and in Australia.
So effectively all my communications go through Huawei equipment because I'm on 2 Degrees and I've got the modem at home.
Yeah, well, they're obviously keeping an eye on you, pal.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, there is the people have also mentioned the US government putting pressure on Huawei. The one that's happened just recently was that Symantec, who are a security company, has pulled out of a joint venture with Huawei, and you can kind of see where their interest is there. If the US government is suspicious of them, then maybe Symantec won't get the really good stuff.
Right.
So that's really about the availability and the flow of information. It's not about the idea that listening devices, as Paul Buchanan put it this morning, are being installed on our internet. It's hard not to conclude that it's a political win in New Zealand at the moment to demonise a large Chinese company. There's a degree of xenophobia since the Crayford Farms thing, and it's pretty easy to get the public to feel suspicious of such a company.
But just looking at, say, the Crayford Farms thing, that was meant to also be a private Chinese company buying those farms. However, when the deal has been shut down or stalled, the Chinese government weighed in and said, well, you better do this, otherwise there's going to be repercussions.
Yeah, as I imagine the New Zealand government would do in the case of Fonterra, actually. But, yeah, none of that actually adds up to any evidence that they would be able to, merely by providing networking equipment, somehow get to our deepest secrets. I'm not sure how much more I can say about this. I think I'm going to have to go and research it and write a blog post, but I find it quite an odd situation, hearing Green MPs saying that we should jump because the Australian Secret Service says jump.
Do you think the fact that we've got a spy base, the Huawei spy base here, that the Chinese aren't part of that intelligence network, that would be part of the situation?
Yeah, the spy base Echelon, which is part of the Echelon network, as Nikki Hager has shown, generally monitors satellite communications.
Right.
It can't get inside fibre. So I don't think there's any means that I can think of that having Huawei supply network equipment would somehow let the Chinese into Echelon.
But you see, if the Americans were concerned about Huawei getting into Australia, then surely they'd be concerned about Huawei getting in here, and that would have been communicated to the national government, and probably John Key would have already bowed to that pressure, you would have thought, if that pressure was there.
Yeah, I don't know whether there was pressure beyond the fact that this company actually has pretty good solutions. I mean, just to clear up what's happened in the US, Huawei spent $230 million on R&D in the US last year, awarded $6 billion worth of contracts to 3 California companies. The US government didn't stand in the way of any of that, but it has blocked 4 deals involving Huawei acquisitions mostly. So it may be that it doesn't want Huawei to have access to certain technology. But it's just hard to make the connection between the hacking attacks, which have absolutely happened in recent years, and the actual hardware supplied by this company.
Right.
But like I said, I'm going to actually have to go and do some research and then throw it open to public address readers because they will know.
Yeah, okay, look forward to that. Teapot tapes, the saga finally came to an end this week.
What a shambles. It's now absolutely clear that the police went and consulted with John Key, who of course was the complainant, well over a week ago, and then for whatever reason made the announcement that Bradley Ambrose won't be charged while John Key was safely out of the country. I really think that there's, that's very convenient timing, but more so, the Assistant Commissioner Burgess's statements on the day were just weird and contradictory. He said in the police statement, "We are clear that the actions of Mr. Ambrose were unlawful," and then in the press conference afterwards, didn't say that at all. He said, "In the view of police investigators, the recording was most likely on purpose, which is the key thing in law, but was at the least reckless." So he's saying we don't have a case. We could not have proved this beyond reasonable doubt.
So therefore, it can't have been unlawful.
Yeah. And he placed all this weight on the so-called letter of regret written to John Banks and John Key by Bradley Ambrose, to the extent that you would think that this letter contains some sort of admission of guilt.
Yeah.
It doesn't. He's saying in the letter what he has said all along, that the recording was inadvertent. He said he regretted passing it to the Herald on Sunday, but made clear there was no money changed hands there, apart from the flat fee he was paid to shoot the event. It certainly wasn't a news of the world tactic, as Stephen Joyce claimed at the time.
Yeah.
So really, there's no strong case to say that Ambrose did this deliberately. And when you look at the raw footage that the Herald published, it tends to make Ambrose's story of there was such a media scrum that I just threw my mic on the table in its bag.
Walked away. Yeah.
Much more plausible. I mean, how on earth was he to know, having thrown his microphone on the table, that the security staff would clear up every microphone but his?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense, basically. And it's a shabby episode.
And so does it also call into question the police's independence on this matter?
Yeah, I think it does, actually. I think they have... I mean, you don't envy them. I think they've been trying to walk a very fine line. But what they've also done right through it is issued warnings to media. The thing they also did initially was serve search warrants on 4 major news organisations. Yeah. Which was absolutely outrageous, including one of them, Radio New Zealand, which had no connection whatsoever to the affair. It didn't have a recording. All it had done was air an interview with Ambrose where he phoned in.
Well, one thing that hasn't become clear, though, is how TV3 got a hold of it.
Who knows? It will have been, they will have had the, not the tape. We keep saying tape.
Yeah.
It's just a digital recording.
Because he said he only gave it to the Herald.
Yeah. So who knows how they got it? Yeah. No, that's actually an interesting question. But I was quite disturbed by the Assistant Commissioner's line in the statement where he said, "This sends a clear message to media that the recording and distribution of conversations that are considered private is likely to lead to prosecution in future." Considered by whom?
Yeah.
We haven't even established this was a private conversation. We haven't established whether Key and Banks had a reasonable expectation of privacy, having summoned 40 journalists into a crowded cafe in public.
Can only be considered when there's a precedent set, right? There is actually
exactly.
Yeah.
And short of that, and they've been warning the media along these lines all the way through. Short of that, this just looks like it's a chilling exercise.
Yeah.
Watch your step, or we'll get you. And there are, it's not hard to conceive of situations where the publication of a recording taken of a private conversation may in fact be greatly in the public interest, and the police really should shut up and back out until they actually have a case.
Indeed. Russell Brown, thanks very much for your time.
Righto.
Cheers. Publicaddress.net, the Hard News blog there, and the Midi 7 Show TVNZ